Should the Miami Dolphins fire head coach Mike McDaniel? That's a question a lot of fans have been posing the past few days after the Dolphins' brutal loss to the Indianapolis Colts. Now, the loss hurts more than most because of how winnable it was, but my answer to this question, I'm not even going to draw it out, is no. The Miami Dolphins should not fire Mike McDaniel. I genuinely think that Sunday's performance was a good coaching job by Mike McDaniel overall. There's not been a perfectly coached game in the entirety of the NFL, but I think Mike McDaniel had a great game plan set in place to help this team win with their third string quarterback, and it was very close to being executed exactly how it was supposed to, and then obviously some mistakes happened. Once again, he was not perfect, but I think he gave this team a good chance to win by his ability to game plan, and that's something that I've questioned from him because there's been things that we've been clamoring for as fans the past few weeks, whether that was sticking to the run. And that is something that I've been claiming for the past 2 years because we have this high-flying passing attack that worked against all the bad teams. But then when push came to shove and we're facing a good team, we'd usually get punched in the mouth and become one-dimensional and kind of get our backs up against the wall. And I think the next step into unlocking that was sticking to the running game. If teams want to play that too high shell like the Bills love to do, and I mean most of the modern NFL likes to do, guess what you do? You go under center and you run the ball right down their throat. And I think Mike McDaniel these past 2 weeks have taken a step to unlock that. Now, obviously the concern is, does he continue that when the quarterback isn't Tyler Huntley or Skylar Thompson? Will he do it with Tua? And that's the next thing. That's the biggest question for me because I think if Mike McDaniel takes what he's done these past 2 weeks and does it with Tua, along with the things that we know Tua does very well, I think that is the best that this offense can get. Obviously, we were first ranked offense in all football last year. I think if you unlock this run game, maybe you don't score as many points, but you win more football games. And at the end of the day, that is what matters. And I think Mike McDaniel's taking the right steps. I will say, genuinely, if people want to call for Mike McDaniel's job, I think it was more coaching malpractice what he did against the Seahawks and against the Titans than what he's done these past 2 weeks. I think this run-heavy approach is exactly what this team needs when you have your third-string quarterback playing. Like, that is how you win football games. Once again, the Dolphins have won flashy under the Mike McDaniel era, and the next step was to win ugly. We did it against the Patriots, and we just failed to do so against the Indianapolis Colts. The reasons why, in my opinion, 2 fumbles and a missed kick. Now, once again, there's blame to go around on Mike McDaniel. What did he call perfect game? No. I think there were some times where we had our play action passes that the passing concepts were too deep down the field. I think there could have been more shallow underneath routes to attack as a check down if those deep routes were covered, which a lot of the times they were. So he didn't call a perfect game. I think the fullback dive to Alec Ingold was very bad. I'm going to be completely honest. But that doesn't mean it was inherently a bad job by Mike McDaniel. I see a lot of the people that were calling for Mike McDaniel's head yesterday being like, oh, after watching the film, there was a lot of times where the ball could have went to Tyreek Hill or Jalen Waddle, but Snoop Huntley just didn't trust it. And that's what this offense is built off of, timing and trust. And obviously it's hard. I'm not blaming Snoop, but it's hard to operate in this offense given those circumstances. And that's why I think Tua fixes a lot of those issues. And once again, I was calling more so for Mike McDaniel to simplify this offense and pound the rock. And he's done that these past 2 weeks. And I think the offense is looked a lot more competent. I know the points haven't showed up, but once again, that's what happens when you have 2 fumbles and a missed kick. So I think that's what's held back the offense more so than Mike McDaniel. I think he's finally adapted in the way that he's needed to. The next question is, will he continue to do that with Tua? That's my biggest question. But I think what he showed these past 2 weeks has been very good. That's exactly what I've wanted to see from him because we know what he can do with Tua. And then if you want to get into the malpractice of the backup quarterback spot, sure. If you want to blame that on Mike McDaniel, sure. If Greer, sure. There should have been a better backup plan in place behind Tua. But I also understand, like, Skylar's been in the system. It's a complicated system. They thought he gave us the best chance to kind of go from one quarterback to the next. But obviously that was not the case, and hopefully it's a lesson learned. But I think the Dolphins' offense is heading in the right direction. We've seen what the defense has done, which, guess what? That's also Mike McDaniel hiring Anthony Weaver, and it's shown to pay dividends. And that's a defense with no edge rush help because of the injuries, and hopefully Bradley Chubb comes back somewhat soon, but who knows when that'll be. Obviously, Chop Robinson's a young dude who hasn't looked great. A lot of people were mad at Greer about that. Like, the time we turned in that pick for Chop Robinson, he was not going to be an instant impact guy. And if you want to debate what they should have done, like, no draft pick is a surefire pick. Like, look at Chase Young. He's still a very good player, but he was supposed to be generational talent and the second overall pick, and he's kind of bounced around teams, dealt with some injuries, but draft picks are projections, and Chop Robinson's got a very unique skill set, and he's got to develop, and that's what happens in the NFL. Players need to develop. He's been put in a position that he shouldn't be put in due to the injuries on this roster. So that's the take on Chop Robinson. I think people are unjustifiably coming after him because he's playing more than he should have to play because of the injuries. So overall, I think this team is heading in the right direction. It sucks that we have to be 2-4. It sucks that we lost a winnable game because of mistakes. So like that, I all understand. But I think calling for the dude's job, who's shown to be quite competent. He's turned a quarterback who is on the brink of being completely mentally defeated into a surefire, very good quarterback that earned the money. And you see why he earned the money, because the quarterbacks behind him can't operate at the level that he can operate. It's clear as day that Tua is a good quarterback, and Mike McDaniel can cook up an offense for Tua. The next step with this offense is to incorporate the run game he's built the past 2 weeks with the skill set that Tua has, perfectly blend it. Like, I understand people are upset that Reek and Waddle, I don't know if either one got a catch or they had like a total 2. It doesn't matter. Like, if we could win football games, that's all that matters. There were times where Tyreek was in KC where he barely got the rock, and guess what? They would win. Winning is all that matters. They would have won this game without one or both of the fumbles. Obviously, I think even one of the fumbles not happening, the Dolphins would have won this game. So Mike McDaniel isn't carrying the rock on first and second down. And once again, I think the fullback dive was a bad play call. He wasn't perfect, but I think overall he gave this team more than enough chances to win this football game, and it didn't happen because of those mistakes. So I am all for Mike McDaniel not getting fired. Obviously, it's a long season. There's a lot that can happen, so that this opinion can change. But based off what he showed me, I'm optimistic about the future. Once again, it could be too little too late. We're 2-4. We have a lot of good teams coming up, but we have our starting quarterback coming healthy. Like, the Jets have the same record as us, and they have an entire healthy offense. Once again, if Tua's here, I think this season looks a lot different, and hopefully that can start this week against the Cardinals. Comment your thoughts down below. I'm open to disagreement. I'd like to talk through different things, so comment your thoughts down below. I appreciate you guys for watching, and until next time, fins up.